Hello and welcome to Cyberstock, episode number 2. So today we will talk about FSD 14.2 wide release, FSD advertisements, some FSD developments in Sweden, the Austin fleet size increase for robotaxis, some Supercharger update in Italy, a new tax for EVs in the UK, and a new potential competitor of the Model 3, and obviously the stock. By the way, I just realized that the video is a little bit out of sync compared to the audio, so I will keep improving. Thank you for the patience. So please remember, nothing here is about investment advice. So let's start with the first news. So Tesla yesterday released full step driving supervised version 14.2. So this version was predicted for release by Elon basically on October 18, because on that date he posted on X that 14.2 would be for widespread use. So we can see how Tesla has at least 1 month visibility on what the developments are of FSD. And I would say even more than that, if we have to consider previous statements. But 14.2, it's considered wide release, and we know that Tesla is very confident about it because Tesla started advertising it. And we can see here that Sawyer posted basically a screenshot on X from the Tesla real account, official account, and we can see that Tesla is trying to sponsor and advertise full self-driving. This is very important because we know that Tesla is very difficult at advertise stuff, and there has been in the past many people that were trying really to push Tesla to advertise their cars, so much so that it was a discussion more than once that I remember in the past 5 years at many stockholder meeting. There were people queuing in line at the end of the shareholder meeting to ask questions, and many of those questions was, Tesla, please start advertising. And Elon Musk was not completely contrary to that, but he would say, okay, we will analyze it, but at the end except for very few instances, they never really went strong, and I think for a good reason. But this is to say that if Tesla advertised something, it means that from their perspective, at this point, is it worth to do? So we know Tesla is very confident about the state of the art of the FSD technology because they're advertising it, and they also having a widespread use. And I said before, all the cars will be given 1 month of free trial for new cars and also for existing cars. I believe this is the second time Tesla proposed a free trial. If I'm not correct, this happened months ago or a year ago also, but it didn't have a really steep increase in subscriptions because the software was not really ready. The car didn't feel completely in control, and there were some disengagements, not very critical ones mostly, but the software was not ready at the time. This time it seems different. This time it seems that people are loving it. They don't have not just critical disengagement, they are not having, most of them, any disengagement. So Tesla obviously has the data that for some reason they don't want to share. It would be amazing if they could do so, but I mean, we respect the choice. Maybe the data could be misused in some way, but they have the data to know internally how many disengagements they are having for this version. So the fact that they are doing that, it means that they're very confident. As for the release of 14.2, we can see that it solved critical behavior that it had in the past. We can see a post here of Alexander that FSD is basically breaking for leaves. And this was on the version, if I'm not correct, 14.1.7, that was 1 or 2 weeks ago. So you can see that the car is trying to swerve to not touch the leaves because it thought that the leaves were an obstacle, a physical obstacle that could damage the car. And obviously the rule is do not crash. This is the first rule of the car. So we can see that it waits that the cars on the other lane pass by. So we can see that even in this scenario, the car do not put the occupants in a dangerous scenario. It just stops and then wait for the car to pass. Okay, now we do not know if there was a car behind it at the time, but obviously we're not responsible for cars behind, but it's always useful to not brake instantly because this could cause an accident. So obviously Tesla had at some point to solve this issue. The interesting thing is that previously, to solve these little bugs, it would take a lot of time. This was not an issue that could be solved in the past very fast. But for now, in 1 and 2 weeks, or in less than 2 weeks, I would say, they solved that behavior. So I think the pace how fast Tesla is solving these little bugs, is also another insight about the stage that they arrived. Let's go to another video. We can see here another video of Dirty Tesla, that the car now, it can also understand when you arrive at a specific parking. So let's recharge the page. The car can understand basically something that would not happen in some of the previous version. It can happen that there is a private gate, and if it doesn't open, it knows that it has to back up and search another time. So it could recognize the gate, it could recognize that it's not moving, and it's taking a decision to do something else. So this is also a complex behavior. Why we're looking at this now? I think it's interesting as the previous example, because it tells us that Tesla arrived to a point that it can focus on details. So they are confident. We know that. First, FSD users are confident. Tesla is confident because it's promoting the product. Tesla is confident because it's focusing on details. And Tesla is confident because it can iterate very quickly on and solve bad behaviors in a very fast pace. So I think we are going very well in that direction. Now, a little bit of bad news, because Elon yesterday said that the Tesla Robotaxi fleet in Austin should roughly double next month. Okay, so given we are the 28th of November, next month would be end of year, so December. So the problem with this information that is conflicting with some previous statements that Elon made. Those previous statements were basically that Elon, was not official, they were not official statements, but there were nonetheless some statements that people should take with a grain of salt. But previously, Elon was confident that by the end of year, we could drive basically 500 robotaxis in the greater Austin area, and 1,000 robotaxi, if I'm not correct. If I'm not wrong, if I'm correct, 1,000 robotaxis for the greater Bay Area. And let's hear about the statement.
So a lot of the things we're doing, we're scaling up the number of cars to say like, what happens if you have 1,000 cars? Like, so we think probably we'll have 1,000 cars or more in the Bay Area by the end of this year, probably 500 or more in the greater Austin area. And if you have to make sure the cars don't all, for example, Supercharger, that's not right. Or that will all go to the same intersection.
So basically, and this statement was made on some less than a month ago, on October 31. So basically, Elon here was confident that we could reach 500 robotaxis by in the next month, basically. But now we are saying that it will double. The problem here is that we don't know exactly how many robotaxis there are in Austin. And so people made some estimates. In this website, robotaxitracker.com, that is very well made and is based on submission by people. So it's kind of open source. You can submit the vehicle, the photo, and the system will check if the car that you submitted, it's already there or not. So this is based on some assumptions that all the cars that we make photo of are operating all days at the same time. So obviously the number, I believe, would be at some point would be less than this one, because some cars will have to be serviced, but at the same time, some cars are not yet spots. So we don't know which is the number. So we'll have to assume with a grain of salt that this could be, let's say, is the closest estimate, and we'd have to take into consideration that is not precise. So we could think that it could easily go 50% up or 50% down or even more. So this estimate from robotaxitracker.com estimates that in Austin we have 29 vehicles. So 29 vehicles is not a lot, considering that we started 5 months ago. I believe in June was June 22nd. But Tesla has made enormous progress from the kind of the software. That's really the very important thing. Now it's to get the software right and then scale it. So here we say 29 cars we have in the Austin area, and we have in the Bay Area, we have almost 100, 98 estimated. So we can see that in the Bay Area, and the fact that in Austin there are very few vehicles compared to the demand, because few weeks ago, Tesla also expanded for widespread use the robotaxi network. And basically people are having waiting times of even more than 40 minutes. So I'm not really sure why they did that. Some say that it could be for advertisement to communicate that the demand is very high. But nevertheless, this is something they did. So going back to Elon's statement, so if the vehicles have to double from 29, that would get us to almost 60. So 60 compared to 500 is quite a difference, and that's why some people are a little bit disillusioned on that. I would say that we know that with completely new technology, nobody knows. So even Elon statements, especially those that are not made, are not official, so are not made during the shareholder meeting or during the earning calls, we should consider them those are aspirational. We know that they're working this technology since many, many years. We are at a point that we are really close. We are really close. I could say that we started the march of 9. So we arrived at 99.9% of no disengagements or no errors. And now we are starting to approach the second 9. One metric I think which is very important to consider and to have in mind is the most important thing, even on the March of 9, is when the technology would reach a safer than human level. And considering that Tesla is applying for, as we saw on the last episode, is applying with the Dutch Motor Transport Authority in the Netherlands in February 2026, it is fair to assume and to speculate that Tesla expects that the car would have a safety at least on par with humans at that point in time. So that's it on that topic. Another good news in Europe, and this time in Italy, is that Italy has reached the 1,000 stall of Supercharger. And as you can see, Tesla is famous for records. They've put the Supercharger in a slightly different way, like an homage to that achievement. And this specifically is in northern Italy. As we can see here from the map, Italy is not one of the main locations in Europe. As for supercharger availability, we can see that most of them are in countries with more economic power, like Switzerland, Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, and the UK. So it's quite a good news to see that also Italy it's expanding its network. And now remaining in Europe, we have kind of a bad news, because in the UK, it seems the BBC, it says that there will be a new tax from April 2028 for EV owners to pay. And this is kind of a new kind of tax because it will be based not per year, but per mile. And not only that, it's a bit strange or a bit new as approach, because it penalizes basically EV drivers. So it's kind of the opposite of what they were doing before, sponsoring, because now it seems that there are so many people with EVs in the UK, or at least enough EV owners in the UK, that taxes from oil are decreasing. And so my speculation is that they have to take this money somewhere else. So in that case, I speculate that because you can see from the hybrids, they have to pay half of the tax, 1.5 pence per mile. So it's close to, it's a bit less, maybe it would be like 2.5 cents per mile, but this would be quite, considering that people drive at least for example, in Europe, at least 10,000 kilometers, that would be some kind of tax closer to some hundreds. So the new tax is about half the fuel duty rate paid at drivers of petrol cars, according to the government independent forecaster, the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR. Now let's go. We have another news, and this time I would say is a good one, because finally we could say that Tesla has, or could have, we will have to see if those specs are real. I would like to see those specs that are tested independently, because in some way they are too good to be true. But let's assume they are true. That car would be really good, because we can see here that they have 374 miles of range. Of range, I assume this is APA range, starting at 47 to 50. Okay, so this is a sedan that would compete as price and shape with the Model 3. And the Model 3 the Model 3 Premium would start at 42.5. So here, the Mercedes will start $5,000 higher. So this is a premium to pay for the brand, I guess. But as for range, the Mercedes has more than Tesla. And let's say that in the past, even this has been difficult to achieve, especially with a price that is very close, at least, to Tesla. One other advantage that I like from this car, I think this is a deal breaker, this is very important, is the rate of charge. It seems that the CLA would be able to charge with his 800-volt architecture at a rate that will be faster than Tesla. And specifically, they say the sedan charges from 10 to 80% in 22 minutes. So this would be faster also than the Model 3. So I think we have our decent looking car with decent specs, with a decent price that could be, hopefully for them, a competitor to Tesla Model 3. So let's see how this goes. Let's see independent test about the feature. Obviously, this is a German car, a luxury brand. So the price, some comments I saw that the price, this is the starting price. And while the Tesla, you can see that it has basically everything already integrated, except for now they released the standard version, and they removed a lot of the premium features. But if you take the premium at that price, it already has everything. You cannot add anything else except for stuff that are not really premium, except for full self-driving. That one is a mix of comfort and safety and other stuff, but this is a software. But except for the charging and maybe you can say other stuff that are not really very important, for example, the liners, the roof rack, the mud flaps, except for this very little. And even if you want to add them, that's not a lot of money. That's less than $1,000 for all the accessories if you want them. Normally, that's not the case for German cars. Normally, for German cars, you can expect to pay, now I don't have the number, but we would expect that the maximum you could pay $5,000 to $10,000 more at least if you want all the optionals. So this is also one other thing to consider. And to finish, let's check the stock price. We closed at 426 and 1.7%. That's another good day for Tesla. We can see after hours is keeping the stock stable. And if you want to support the podcast, please like and subscribe. And please provide, if you want to give me some feedback, what you like, what you don't like. The channel is new. The channel will evolve also based on your feedback. So please email me at teslapod@gmail.com. TSLA, not Tesla, TSLAPOD @gmail.com. Thank you and see you the next time. Bye.